Hello and welcome back to game number 2 of this bronze.
Come on, just third and fourth placing.
Third and fourth placing for HQ Esports Club going up against Saigon Jokers. And man, what a game number 1 we had. What a turnaround that we had from HQ Esports Club. That was easily one of the best games that I've seen all season.
Yeah, and after watching that game, can you still call them bronzies?
No, okay, not in that perspective, but for the bronze medal of the GPL Winter season.
I don't know.
And
if it's first place, second place, and third place in League of Legends, it's going to be Challenger, Diamond, Platinum. That's how the medal should be named.
Okay. Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, so what they are fighting for is essentially that 25,000 cash prize. That is a lot of money in the bank, and not only that, the 150 circuit points as well, as we switch over to the circuit point system for the rest of the season as well. So all these little victories will count, and you know both of them were actually beaten down by the Azubu teams. So Saigon Jokers got taken down by Taipei Assassins, and HQ Esports Club got taken down by the Snipers respectively, and now they are fighting for the third and fourth place. And we do see the skill and the caliber coming into this one. We have seen a very close match, and I have to say, Saigon Jokers, for the most parts of it, they played really, really well. But they just had that one major mistake that just cost them the game in game number 1.
Now that I think back about it, and we were kind of talking about it during the break, it's not really much of a mistake because even if QTV did manage to kind of try to zone out the backline, yes, Garnet Devil wouldn't have been there to do as much of the damage output that he could have done, but Mundo and Olaf was just getting way too tanky at that point of time. 6-item Mundo, 6-item Olaf, they had over 4,000 health. Can't say over 9,000 because over 9,000 health in this game is pretty scary, but you
pretty
get what
impossible as well, yeah.
You get what I mean. I don't know. I'm sure someone has done it somewhere.
Maybe a Scion pick for them, you just keep farming up your health and you get 9,000 health.
Probably. Anyway, like I said, late game Mundo, late game Olaf, just so scary. We saw that SAJ was trying to kind of focus Mundo and Olaf in that final fight, and they barely took them down under half health.
Right.
And at the moment Garnet Devil came in, threw a boomerang blade into the ricochet auto reset combo, and testing. Hello. Okay.
Hello.
I think it's just our computer that kind of went black a bit. But like I was saying, when Sivir came in and just joined the fight, Archie died, and basically once that was out, Optimus was already taken down throughout in the early stages of that fight. AHQ basically won that game.
Okay.
They had 5 members up, pushed for the win, and this just kind of story for game number 1 because both teams were very even throughout the entire game 1.
Right, and you know, we do see the switch up in the playstyle as well. For the most parts, we often compare both Saigon Jokers as well as HQ Esports Club to be the more hyper-aggressive teams in the Garena Premier League. They were not so much of a objective control team for the most parts, especially in the group stages. But I guess they have adopted pretty well. And at this point in time, we are into champion select. It's gonna be HQ Esports Club in the blue team this time around, and we do have the first ban kill once again.
That's right, Kale nearly being taken out on the side of SAJ, Jinx getting denied away, Dr. Mundo, something that SAJ doesn't want to deal with at this point of time. Like you said, SAJ hasn't been really playing Dr. Mundo, so taking away the Dr. Mundo pickup from AHQ in itself is going to be quite essential coming into game number 2. Oriana, I have to say, Optimus pulled off amazing shockwaves coming in, and the moment the shockwave didn't really have much of an impact was one of the fights in which SAJ lost. So Thresh being banned out on the side of SAJ, HQ does have first pick, so I think it's very respectful to ban out that champion because Green Tea, we know how good Green Tea is on Thresh.
Right, I could easily say that he is the Southeast Asian king of Thresh especially, and in that case, AHQ will secure that half-dragon Shyvana for themselves, and Saigon Jokers, they are left with a lot of options here. So Optimus being taken out with that kill and the Oriana ban, we might see him go back to something like a Ziggs pick here or even a Gragas pick here. So a lot of options being opened up, and Saigon Jokers, they will decide to lock in the Elise for themselves, a very strong early game pick for themselves, so not too surprising. And you know, we all often talk about the fact that between all these GPL teams, it's always about who is the more aggressive jungler right from the start, and having that Elise pick is such a good pickup for themselves in the sense, you just secure so much more jungle presence, and they will take away the Leona as well, so denying that away from Green Tea. And I would have to say it's a very good call as well, because for Green Tea, he likes to go for those champions that can make plays early on. So taking away the Leona, then banning out the Thresh as well, he might go for something like a Annie pick here.
That's right, Annie is still available at this point of time, and what we have here from Green Tea, especially on HQ Esports Club, is that we saw in the game against the Azulu Taipei Snipers that taking away taking away Thresh from Green Tea in itself kind of put him on tilt. Like I said, he played Leona. I would say he played a fantastic Leona last game, and he hit a lot of the on-point solar flares, in which I thought he may not be too comfortable on that champion and won't be able to do such. And if he can only play Thresh and Leona, and you're gonna allow, SAJ is gonna just put Green Tea on tilt again, that's just half the battle won already. So let's just see what support HQ decides to pick up. They decide to pick up Lucian as well as Kha'Zix for their next two picks. Kha'Zix in the jungle, something that's extremely strong. Kha'Zix, one of the junglers that really needs a snowball to kind of get things rolling, but even if he does fall behind, 1 or 2 kills will be able to just propel him forward immediately.
Right, we do see Kha'Zix slowly crawling back in the scene, especially after the Battle of the Atlantic series as well as the LCS relegation matchups. And the good thing about having that Kha'Zix as well is that we are not gonna be sure where it's gonna go. You could put that in the hands of Ness. You can even put that in the hands of Wesdor as well. We do know that Wesdor favors his assassin, so he might be the one playing that Kha'Zix in the mid lane, and that will give some problems over to Optimus, that is to say the least. And Archie might go for the Graves once again. He played relatively well in game number 1, but it just goes to show that he did not have the substantial burst damage to try to take down the tanks of HQ Esports Club there. So let's see how this plays out for him. But in the sense, a Graves and Leona in the bottom lane is a very powerful duo.
That's right. So now Green Tea as well as Juni decide to trade up support, and I'm going to be very happy because Wesdor is going to be playing Kassadin. Kassadin was not open last game because he was banned out, and this time SAJ seems to prioritize Thresh over that Kassadin ban. So here we have Wesdor playing on a champion that he's extremely comfortable with. Yes, Kassadin suffers from a horrendous laning phase, but then again, with Wesdor and Kassadin as well as Naz on Kha'Zix, if you get any of them kills and assists, that's just going to snowball the lanes so extremely hard.
Right, and in that perspective, we might see Saigon Jokers try to respond to that with a lane swap and send maybe both Archie and Juni into the mid lane, but we will see that as the game progresses. We are still in the pick phase. We are waiting for Saigon Jokers. What is going to be the last choice? And they are going to go for the Tryndamere pick. I love this pick a lot.
I like the Tryndamere pick on the side of the current SAJ composition. The only thing that I don't like about what SAJ has at this point of time is their bot lane duo. Because what we have here from SAJ is good disengage for the side of having Gragas on the team as well as Elise. And then, well, I would say Leona has some decent peel as well. But the problem is that, once again, they don't have a strong siege composition coming into the mid and late game. Graves will be tanky in lane in general, but most of the times we saw how difficult it was for SAJ to kind of go into the turrets and try to pick someone off. Earlier in game number 1, we had them going for the team fight, chunk down HQ as low as possible, and then do damage to the turret the moment HQ decided to back off. But this time we don't see any of that at all, because I don't really know what Saigon Jokers are going for. Maybe a split push composition with Tryndamere in the top lane, and I just don't really like their team comp. On the other hand though, HQ has a team comp in which they're extremely comfortable on. I don't know how well Green Tea is going to perform on Alistar, but I like that pickup in lieu of what we see so far, because the kill lane potential from Lucian Alistar into a Kha'Zix or a roaming Kassadin is very effective.
Right, and just a little thing to point out about Six composition. I think between both teams, their sieging potential is not extremely well. You know, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of wave clear coming in from Saigon Jokers. Effectively, the only kind of wave clear that Saigon Jokers have is going to be coming in from Gragas as well as Grace with the buckshot. And looking at HQ Esports Club, the only kind of wave clear potential that they might have is coming in from Kassadin and maybe even from Garden Devil. So both teams now, they don't exactly have the they don't exactly have the best sieging composition coming to this one. And I think Saigon Jokers definitely would want to go for that split push. And that is in a very good response coming in from Prides as well. Because if you think about it, Trinamir, if you leave him alone against a Shyvana, you should be able to duel him against him quite well in that sense. And you just throw in the Elise to secure some early games for yourself, and then you have this all-in bottom lane coming in from Saigon Jokers. I have to say that you might not like the composition, but I think that their composition right now is looking pretty solid. And you compare that to HQ Esports Club, there's a lot of uncertainties there, because between both Kassadin as well as Kha'Zix, they need a lot of snowball to get it going there. So if they cannot find the right spot to do it, then they will eventually fall behind against this team composition that Saigon Jokers have. And looking at game number one, looking at what happened previously, Saigon Jokers definitely have kind of mastered up how to control HQ Esports Club for the most parts of it. So it's a very risky gamble in that sense. It's almost like a all or nothing call from HQ Esports Club.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up there, Chris, because earlier, if both teams kind of play out the way the early levels of game one played out, I don't expect AHQ to kind of get anything rolling. But if knowing the teams, if they kind of default back to their usual playstyle, you say is a little bit more aggressive. I kind of call them like this is like a Wild Wild West showdown. Two cowboys just gunslinging each other this game. We didn't see that in game one. They were very calm. Maybe they were just at the bar stages of that gunfight. Maybe if they brought it out to the Wild West and tried to gunsling it out, we should see Naz as well as Safety on these two champions, both, well, quote-unquote, insects. Spiders aren't really insects, but creepy crawlies, I would say. And both Naz and Safety can go in for some pretty effective ganks coming into the lanes itself. The isolation from Kha'Zix in combination with the burst damage from an early game Shyvana, using that Flame Breath into Burnout as well as that Twin Bite, should be able to take down QTV quite effectively in the early games. And the kill lane potential of losing Alistar into, like I said, a roaming Kassadin from the mid lane or the Kha'Zix is going to be very strong. But the thing that you point out, which I kind of overlooked because I was trying to get an overall feel of the SAJ team comp, was that SAJ lanes are pretty strong. And having Elise with that Cocoon as a guaranteed lockdown, as well as Leona in the bot lane with, once again, another guaranteed lockdown, or I wouldn't say one guaranteed lockdown, but a multitude of guaranteed lockdowns because of how Leona has in her kit, it's going to be an even stronger kill lane on the side of SAJ.
I like the way you put it as a Wild Wild West showdown, because it can be seen from both the marksman player from both HQ Esports Club and SAJ. They are both representations with Graves and Lucian both holding those pistols, so they will be looking, one holding the pistols, then the other one having the shotgun in his favor, so they will be looking on to the fight there as we proceed on to game number 2, HQ Esports Club on the blue corner and Saigon Jokers on the red side.
Yeah, I know Graves usually holds a shotgun, but Mafia Graves holds a Tommy gun, so that's a little bit of a correction there, or at least I think he holds a Tommy gun. I don't really know my guns well. But anyway, we do have here, so no level 1 cheese coming out from SAJ, not like in game 1. They spread out, form that line of scrimmage, going to just check out most of the entrance points.
Hello.
Entrance points, that's right. So anyway, so like I said, no level 1 cheese that we saw earlier in game number 1. I'm just going to spread out, check most of the points of entrance into the jungle, and I just feel that what we have here from both teams is that they're just going to start off their regular jungle rounds.
Right, and Green Tea here once again going for that Doran shield start. We have seen that when he was playing Leona in the last game, but in the sense, when you compare both Leona and Alistar, you do have a good amount of initiation techniques to go in with the headbutt and the pulverized combo, but I would have to say consistently Leona should have the better engaged tools there. So I think that Doran Shield is just to make sure that he is able to stay in lane, sit in that lane and try to repel away any form of initiation coming in from Junie in that sense. And Junie once again going for those gold generating items from the start, and this time around with that early. He would be forming that into that early Targon's Brace later on, and that should be able to generate some good amount of goal for Archie in that sense.
Well, we do have here Garnet Devil and Junie just meeting each other face to face. Junie takes 2 hits from his pistol in itself, and what we have here is, I like to kind of look into the later stages of the game, Chris, because earlier we saw that HQ Team completely outskilled SAJs coming into the late game. What about this game?
Well, they do have that late game insurance in the Trinamere because, for the most part, I remember when I was playing Trinamere in the top lane, you do have a lot of damage in the late game when you get your critical strikes up as well. So you can even solo Baron in that perspective. And now we do see Junie taking a whole lot of damage from the combination of Green Tea and Garnet Devil, so being the lane bully that they like to be. So we do see that slightly more aggressive and that hyper-aggressive start from HQ Esports, and something that that I pretty much like as well.
Yeah, Archie as well as Junie need to be extremely careful here, because once Green Tea gets his Headbutt Pulverize combo come in level 2, and it's going to be very scary because we saw how at the level 1 stage he was able to kind of zone out both Archie as well as Junie, but both Archie and Junie doing a very good job. Actually, they are the first pair to hit level 2, so they're going to have that slight aggression coming in the bot lane for themselves.
Right, I like that skin from Vinci as well, just making him look even tougher than he is already. And between Pride and QTV up in the top lane, I feel like it will take a while for any form of skirmish to happen, and in a sense QTV should be able to regen himself pretty well with that Q charge on his end. And now we do see Ness hanging around the sidelines as well.
That's right, the moment we have Junie as well as Archie in a complete opposition, the initiate goes in, the counter initiate is going to come in very shortly as well. Junie gets hit, but all the way to the side, the isolation will be the one to come in now, and now that flash comes out from Junie, the flash as well as the leap coming in, the exhaust immediately comes out, safety on the sidelines, going in for the counter initiate once more. Nas gets taken out very low, goes in for the repel, a great pulverize and knocks safety into the fray. Safety taken out very low, he's in a lot of danger of losing his double buffs there, but it does seem that both junglers were in the vicinity to do something about their bot lane. I feel that the lane of contention in this game, I said it in the pick and ban phase, that the bot lane is a kill lane for both of these teams just because of how much CC their support has, and that was just a classic example of how aggressive these teams, at least how aggressive we expect these teams to be.
I think I just broke out in cold sweat there in respects to both teams. They're just living life dangerously, as I like to call it. So at first it was a little bit of misposition from Junie that he went in with the Zenith Blade, and we saw Junie fly right back into turret range for HQ Esports Club there, and they almost got him in the process, but great counter movement from safety there, as we do see now Westall putting out a good amount of pressure onto Optimus there. So he will be forcing him back away from the lane there.
Yeah, something I don't really have much expertise in is the mid lane matchup, because Kassadin doesn't really do well in lane. That I understand, but now that I think about it, Gragas is not a race champion, and that's just gonna give Westall that little bit of leeway to kind of duke it out in lane with Gragas. He's able to, I don't know whether Westall has that move speed, Quince, but if he does actually stack them in, he's kind of able to maneuver around the barrels, go in, and we just saw he managed to zone out Optimus.
Right, that was a very very dubious call indeed, because I thought for sure that Saigon Jukers might want to make use of this little advantage that they have to send both Archie and Junie into a 2v1 matchup, as we now see Green Tea flash into the fray.
Yeah, that's right. Junie has to use the Zenith Blade to try to reposition himself. It does seem that he may be able to get out. First blood goes in, Garnet Devil goes into the flash and auto attack to pick up that kill. Archie will try to trade some auto attacks back and forth. We do have a roam coming in from Optimus. He has hit level 5, doesn't have level 6 just yet, so no exploding cast from the mid lane of Saigon Jokers.
And SAJ, Prides actually, QTV will pop the Ignite onto Prides there. Does feel like the health pot should be able to save Prides there in the process.
That's right, QTV has that natural regeneration coming in from him, and we do have safety Optimus as well as Archie try to pull off a sneaky dragon, but HQ will be there to kind of respond to that turret, that objective pressure coming in from Saigon Jokers.
Oh, and QTV going all ham over here.
That's right, he does have his ultimate, so he has the Undying Rage. Pride's not yet at level 6. And the range minion auto attack unable to take him down. He has only 50 over health left. And Westall was thinking of going in, but he didn't really have that rift. He does have that rift wall, but doesn't have so much mobility just yet to completely go in. Optimus here gets the body slam in. The rift wall comes out from Westall. Doesn't pull off that combination. Green Tea gets hit by the stun. The Sunlight passive gets procced. And just a little bit of trade going back and forth from both teams.
Right, so I have to, give it to Optimus once again. He often finds himself in the position that when he's pressured away by the opposition mid laner, he manages to find that little gap to bring himself back into this game. We saw just about a couple of minutes in, he was sitting at a very huge CS deficit, but he has managed to, close that gap, and now it's only an 8 CS advantage for Westall at this point of time. But we always have to remember that Kassadin, if you give him all this free lane farm, oh sorry, not free lane farm, all this free lane in the lane, then he will be scaling into mid game very comfortably, and that's not a position where you want to face off a Kassadin again.
Yeah, I've heard mid lane players tell me, if you pick Kassadin in the game, all you need to do is go even in lane, and effectively, you've done your mission for the laning phase. And Westall at this point of time, I would say he's doing much more than just going even in lane against Optimus.
Right, and given there's so much pick-off potential between both Ness and Westall, that is a very worrying sign for SJ to say the least, but at least for the top lane, QTV is doing quite well for himself now, out-damaging Prides as well and out-CSing him in the process, so finishing up the build Water Cutler as well.
Yeah, that's right. The Bilgewater Cutlass is already done on the side of QTV on Tryndamere, but Pride may be deciding to go back and pick up some items, maybe a boost or speed to allow him to kind of do it out against QTV in itself. And look at this, SAJ playing the aggressors here. Safety is able to kind of just smite steal away that red buff, and they're just going to easily transition with that 4-man onto their blue buff in their own jungle, something a lot safer for them, and they're just going to pass it off to Optimus in the mid lane. So great play calling coming in from the side of Saigon Jokers, able to counter jungle away the rip buff from Nas.
But I thought it was a very risky moment as well. Should HQ have the resources to go for Dragon, but in that sense, HQ decided to play safe there. They didn't want to risk anything down in the Dragon Pit. So overall, it's a win for Saigon Jokers over there, but like we mentioned, it is a ticking time bomb, especially for Westall down in the mid lane. And now we do see him roaming up to the top lane over here. Let's see an engage come down soon, but Prides is now shoving the lane really hard, so we see Optimus as well as Safety now come in response to that one.
Yeah, that's right. We do have the rotations coming in. The Dragon Ball comes out from Pride, and now QTV may decide to go in onto this one. Optimus is actually onto the flank here. He has his explosive cast up just at this point of time. He will manage to knock Pride into the wall, but I don't think QTV as well as Safety was in range at all for that attempt there. So they do push Pride out of the lane, but nevertheless, the gank attempt didn't really work out.
Right, and in the meantime, we do see Ness and Westall having the liberty to just shove out the mid lane, once again creating the pressure that Westall will need to roam down to this bottom lane. We might see Archie and Julie in a little bit of trouble, but instead they will just move into the jungle area for Saigon Jokers at this point of time.
Yeah, they're gonna go in the long route here through the enemy jungle in itself and pick up the white camp coming in. Ness having second thoughts about that one, doesn't want to get pincered in by Junie and Archie as well as Safety. And there we have it, that little trip to the jungle is not really going to work out. Prize is getting a very, very strong coming into the level 9 stages. QTV may not be able to deal with the amount of magic damage that Prize actually is able to put out at this point of time in the game.
So I have to say there's a little bit of hesitation for HQ Esports Club in the early stages, and I guess it's understandable in the sense that between both Ness and Westall, they don't really have a lot of combat stats being achieved here.
Yeah, and there we have an initiation coming in. Ghana Devil taken out extremely low, and a nice hit but knocks Junie into the turret. Safety wasn't there in time to kind of follow up onto that CC combination. It doesn't able to layer that CC, and in the mid lane in itself, Optimus doing the fantastic job. And there we have that CC coming in from the side of SAJ in itself. Junie tanks a few turret hits. Now Safety is the one tanking it. Pulls up the repel. He does come down. The aggro switches onto the minions now. And a rotation coming in from the mid lane as well as the jungler of AHQ. Archie as well as Safety in a bunch of trouble now. Safety will go down onto this one. Yes, he does. Archie is able to get out of that one. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade in the bot lane. QTV as well as Pride now. QTV actually forced Pride to use his ultimate at that point of time. He will go in. The Ignite is now taking the... Whoa, a flash coming out of that one. The Undying Rage will be able to allow QTV to survive that one. And now Pride's in a little bit of trouble. Both top laners still happy to stay on in the top lane. Once the Dragon Form goes down, I don't know if QTV will decide to continue to fight this one out though, but it's going to be very scary for the top laners in itself. He needs to get the stacks off his Fury a bit so that he can actually pop his Q and get in a little bit of the heal in itself, but nevertheless, both top laners showing each other some respect there.
Yep, showing respect, but Optimus is just lurking right around the corner here as we do see Archie and Junie trying to siege down, and now Westall moving and jumping to the top lane as well. Might want to go for that counter gank over here.
Yeah, that's right. He wants to go in and get onto QTV. Whoa, the Rift Walk may not be able to do it because Optimus does have his explosive cast and knocks Westall away. So good guy Optimus saving QTV to see the light another day.
Right, and at this point of time, Westall is already pressuring the sidelines for Saigon Jokers a fair bit, as we did see him pick up the first kill dump at the bottom lane and now moving to the top lane. So this is just a preview to what we can see Westall scale up into. And, you know, between that and Ness, we might see Saigon Jokers, they need to really control these two snowballing champions.
Yeah, so not much action happening here, but now as I say that, a headbutt into the wall combo with the Pulverize will chunk Junie down to about half HP. The little piercing light at the same time will force Junie to blue pill back and go home and shop.
Right, the Relic Shield is still on Junie at this point in time. He's not completing the targets just yet, so he just wants to finish up the vision control here, and rightfully so, because he is not in a rush to build up that target space, and now Safety taking away his own red buff. And in that sense, we have seen very good movement coming in from Safety, but he needs more. He needs even better movements. He needs to secure those kills happen, because at this point of time, Westlaw is looking pretty good. Even though Optimus has a very significant CS advantage of about 15 right now, but they really need to control Westlaw. If not, he's just going to move into the mid game to be really, really unstoppable in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, the story of game number 2 is, whoa, we do have some action coming in. Westlaw getting chunked down to less than half health from a 2-spell rotation coming from Optimus. Does manage to get his explosive cast out as well as that little barrel roll there. And now we do have Pride coming in. Westlaw there. There's complete amazing rotation coming in. The Undying Rage now keeps QTV alive for quite a bit, but the Ignite will be able to take him down there.
But that's the frustrating thing though, but in return, Saigon Jokers, they will be able to pick up the Dragon for themselves. So in a sense, a bit of a distraction technique coming in from QTV there. So they will be happy to trade that 1-for-1. And with both Optimus and Safety in the mid lane, now Westall might be finding himself in some trouble.
That's right. Prides is able to deal some damage to this turret. I don't know if he will be able to kind of take this one down. But nevertheless, a 1-for-0 trade, and SAJ pick up Dragon in the meantime. So I just like to say that the story of this game has been Westlaw making the roam, but at the same time Optimus makes the exact same roaming path that Westlaw has taken, and that hasn't really resulted in any sort of kills yet. I mean, a few failed gank attempts up, but nevertheless the mid laners have kind of been mirroring each other in the early stages of the game. The same could be said for the junglers. We saw that early gank come in. Naz was waiting in the sidelines, but at the same time Safety was just around the corner as well to respond to that one. So both teams kind of playing a little bit of mind games with each other, and Naz as well as Safety reading each other like a book. Westlaw as well as Optimus doing the same to each other.
Right, and you know, I'm looking at the item build for Ness at this point of time. He has gone for that early spirit of the Ancient Golem, because in a sense, usually I will try to question it and ask why is he going for health, but why is he not going out for straight damage. But in that sense, Saigon Jokers, they do have a lot of burst potential coming in from Optimus and a lot of lockdown coming in from Juni as well. So having that little bit of extra health should help him in the process. And the Cocoon does not land onto Pride there.
That's right, so Safety does visit the top lane a little bit for some sort of gank. The little mocking shout comes out. Pride taken out extremely low. He does have his ultimate though, but he will not use the Dragon's Descent. Westdot is on the sidelines. Optimus will be going in from the flank as well. A pink ward gets dropped down. The vision ward will kind of spot out that stealth ward and just take it away. So surprisingly, SAJ, or at least QTV, single-handedly just kind of forces Pride's out of lane and just takes down that top lane turret. So first turret of the game will go down to SAJ. First dragon of the game as well. Gets taken up by SAJ.
So that would put them at a good 1,000 advantage over here.
Wow, a great Zenith Blade. The max range Zenith Blade coming in. But the zone from Green Sea actually comes in, and the roam from Optimus, Garnet Devil taken out extremely low. He's not going to survive that one. Westdot is on the side now. Prize gets taken down in the top lane as well by both Safety as well as QTV. So SAJ just immediately turn on the switch, gank both the top as well as the bot lane, and pick up 2 kills from themselves.
Right, so it was a very good moment for them to go in as well because they managed to take up the top lane turret, and Safety just came in from the jungle of HQ Esports Club, so they were unable to spot him out there. So 2 kills being secured respectively by both QTV as well as Archie. That will put them in a very comfortable position as we transit into the 20-minute mark.
That's right, so a little bit of a goal lead coming in from SAJ, and let's just kind of see how this goal lead pans out, because the items coming in from both teams are slowly getting picked up, and the Archangel Staff is the first major item that Westdot decides to pick up. He has yet to ramp it up so far. He's 2-0-0 at this point of time, so he's kind of in a comfortable position, but Optimus showing why he's kind of like the star of SAJ in my opinion. So he's just being able to farm up very effectively in the lane itself, and he's just doing an overall good job with the rotations as well.
But he might not have the best mobility, even though he does have that body slam up his own kit as well. But he might not be as mobile as compared to Kassadin.
Yeah, that's right. We will see a replay of how Price kind of got taken down in the top lane. So let's take you through this one.
Right, so Pride's just got really low in this one, and now QTV will pop his ghost. Just a simple lock and chase down onto this one. So technical style guys, not fanciful, and they were able to take Pride down in the process. So like I was saying, even though Optimus might not have the roam potential from Westall there, but he still has a lot of burst damage, and that is something that we have to remember.
Yeah, that's right. QTV just happy to tank up this turret here, and a fight breaks out of the bot lane. Naz gets taken out extremely low. Archie is forced to flash away from that fight into the Dragon Pit in itself. The smoke screen comes out and tries to block it. We do have the remaining 3 members of SAJ make their rotation down and try to do some damage there. So not much of a fight coming. A fight comes into the bot lane, but not many kills at all. When we saw the replay earlier of Price getting taken down in the top lane, we actually had SAJ invade the blue buff of AHQ, and this is why Archie is picking up their own blue buff. So 2 blue buffs on the side, Optimus being 1 stolen away from AHQ itself, and Archie is able to pick up 1 for himself from his own blue buff.
Right, so at this point of time, Saigon Joker sitting at a good 3,000 gold lead. I would say that is a bigger gold lead from what we had seen from game number 1, and they're transiting rather well in this one. And because of those early kills that QTV had on himself, sorry, that one early kill that he had for himself and this performance that he has, he should be transiting. He might go into that Phantom Dancer or even that Static Shift. If he does go for that Static Shift, then I would say he has a bigger wave clear on his own end, which is something that he might want to look at because he wants to be that split pusher, applying pressure away at the sidelines here. And now QTV meets up with Pride once again, so applying a good amount of damage there.
Yeah, he has that red buff as well, that one being donated from his own jungle, and he just decides to go in and gives a few friendly hits onto Pride itself. We do have Westdor onto the sidelines, and at the same time Optimus is just mirroring that one as well. The turret will go down on the side of AHQ Esports. SAJ will pick up the third turret of the game. Very good, very measured aggression coming in from SAJ this game number 2 here. So very strong pushing presence, something that I don't expect them to have since Graves is not one of the best AD carries in terms of siege.
My only fear for them is only what happened in game number 1. I hope that doesn't happen because they are playing this really, really well. And once again, taking out the Dragon in the perspective, and the Cocoon lands onto Naze there. He has to leap away from that one. So once again, pressure from QTV as well as Optimus to pressure on this side lane, this top lane once again. So sitting at a good 5,000 gold lead now. I have to say, Saigon Jokers, they know, they have a game plan coming into this one, and this Tryndamere pick, you know, just working really well for them.
That's right. I mean, QTV is able, he's the kind of guy that draws a lot of attention to his lane, and being on Tryndamere just puts in that added aggression coming in. So what we have here is actually QTV just hammering onto the turret itself. Will he actually sacrifice himself for taking down that turret? He will pop his ghost. The missiles will not come out. He does tank a few shots to this turret. That Void Walker will come in to try to take down QTV. The Solar Flare comes out, but isn't really able to take him down. The Undying Rage didn't get popped there. Didn't expect that burst combination to come out from Westlaw, I feel. So they do manage to take down the turret. That little bit of chasing kind of wasted some time, but HQ seems to have grouped up 5 here. Is able to easily take down this mid lane turret in itself.
Wow, and Westlaw jumping to the fray there.
That's right, so a big fight coming in. Naz gets exhausted. The collateral damage will not be able to pick him up. It does actually, I think it's the Ignite that managed to take him down, and it seems that they will force HQ to run away from that one. Green Tea taken down extremely low. He does use the Pulverize to get close some distance. The Flash Cocoon, and there we have the Execute coming in from safety. It's himself.
Right, it was almost like a very dubious call for Westlaw to jump into the fray in that one. You know, we know for a fact that Westlaw is a very aggressive player, but that was probably not the best decision to go in for that one. So in terms, we did see the counter kill as we head into the replay to see exactly what happened. So at first HQ took down the turret. He went in with the Riftwalk to try to put on some damage, and HQ had to try to follow up onto that one. Optimus now putting a chunk of damage with the explosive cast. The Culling not really doing the best amount of damage there, so now Ness taking a whole ton of damage, but he will go down eventually to the Ignite pick there, and Optimus will pick that one up, and it was just a simple chase for safety, and Green Tea nearly got into safety there, but safety will be able to follow up with the Execute.
Yeah, so here's what happens in that team fight in itself as I was watching the replay. We do have QTV as well as Price comes in. Wow, Westlaw just lying in ambush there, and then he easily pick off QTV. He does not pop his Undying Rage once again, so I think he knew that he couldn't have gotten out of that team fight in itself. So he was just willing to go down for that one to maybe fight another day, I feel. But like I said, in that team fight in itself, I feel that AHQ made the right call in going in because they had a 4v5 advantage. They were the 5 members because we already saw QTV go down earlier. And the fact that Junie didn't have its solar flare up, that's just another form of crowd control that SAJ didn't have. But the problem was we saw a great explosive cast come in. They managed to move and distribute the players of AHQ away, preventing 2 or 3 seconds worth of good damage. At the same time, Garner Devil popped his Culling, which I felt that, you know, isn't really effective when it comes into the team fights, especially at the start of it. I felt that he would have done a lot more damage if he actually went in immediately, pulled off his spell rotation and put in some auto attacks instead of just throwing out the Culling there.
Right, so it's almost like a push and pull effect there, and I have to say, man, Optimus is really, really good at controlling all this AoE combination right there. It's either the command shockwave or the explosive cast. So great understanding of his champions there. And Dragon will be coming up in 2 minutes time as we do have a slight breathing space here. So Saigon Jokers once again holding on to that goal lead, 5.5 thousand in their favor. But I think once again it's the story of HQ, you know, just relying on Westlaw once again. 3 kills up on his belt, but this time it is Optimus with the CS advantage over here, sitting at a good close to 40 CS advantage. And now QTV now will be rolling it out with Prides up in the top lane, and we do see Saigon Jokers just grouping up in the mid lane trying to make the siege happen.
Yeah, so here we have this mid lane turret being contested now. SAJ doesn't really have a lot of siege coming in. Archie here just being able to put in 1 or 2 shots to that turret in itself. He does a lot better in team fights because of how his kit kind of works. QTV just being that split push Tryndamere, how all Tryndamere should play, being that carry sort of jungler, does spin away. And Prize and QTV is going to have that push-pull effect like we were talking about earlier as well. So the siege is going to be a 4-man siege in the mid lane, and at the same time, it's just going to be a duel in the top lane itself.
And actually, Optimus being taken down to less than half of his HP there, so it's a call for Saigon Jokers to turn back and you know, pull away from this second-tier turret for HQ Esports Club there.
That's right. The poke coming out from this 4-man team of HQ in itself, and I really like to see what happened here in the top lane because Prize managed to push QTV all the way back to his own turret, and it does seem that the pressure is alleviating on the side of both SAJ or alleviating from HQ, so SAJ is just going to back off from that one. Dragon will be up in 5 seconds, and it seems that that is the next point of contention. We may see Prize and QTV decide to go down, but we do have here SAJ just trying to set up a trap here. The sweeping lens will be used, but they don't realize that there's actually a ward at the back of the pit here, so they do not see that ward on the side of SAJ, and they'll be spending a good half a minute trying to camp at this brush, and you know HQ is not going to take the bait at all.
Right, but I think in a sense they were a little bit too lax as well. We do see Green Key now teleporting away and he is back in the home base. Then that is the call for Saigon Jokers to take away the Dragon, so once again extending that goal lead. 6,000 in their favor right now. And one thing I really have to question at this point of time is you know, this build that Ness is going for. Sure, you want to go for that Spirit of the Ancient Golem to try to sustain up against this burst potential that Saigon Jokers have, but at the same time, you're not going to be the assassin that you want to be to lead into the fray, execute someone and then jump back right out. He doesn't necessarily have the damage to do that, because at this point of time, the only source of damage output that he has is only from the Brutalizer. I'm not sure if that is enough to take out anyone on the side of Saigon Jokers.
Yeah, that's right. QTV coming in with a vengeance here. Gonna try to deal it out with Prize, but having that on mill on the side on the Dragon itself is not gonna be helpful at all for QTV. He's gonna be speccing in for an additional amount of damage, has 231 damage to his name, has a little bit of AP as well to help with his Q. But outside of that, he isn't really able to kind of do it out with Prize at this point in time.
Right, so once again, Saigon Jokers wants to go for that siege on the mid lane once again. So it has been the story of this game. So 4-1 split pushing with QTV applying pressure up in the top lane. But it does feel like HQ has very good response to that as well. So I guess it is once again the case of finding the picks and finding the mistakes. And now QTV gets into trouble here.
That's right, QTV will get pitted out. He does pop the Undying Rage. I don't think he'll be able to get out of that one. Naz is able to get the kill onto that one. I don't know why Price decided to use his Dragon's Descent, but at the same time, SAJ is able to kind of get the mid lane turret in response.
Right, it's almost like a reminiscence of the home guard strategy from Ozone in the Korean scene, where you have your top laner just constantly drawing people away from the rest of your team and then let your teammates just grab a major objective after that. That is the story of this game.
Do you just name a tactic home guard from Ozone's ex-top laner home?
Yeah. Wasn't it? Isn't it called home guard?
I don't know. Really? But that, okay. It's cool. Something new I learned today. But yes, I mean, QTV has always been that sort of player anyway.
Okay.
To draw some aggression onto him, and SAJ is able to pick up a turret from that one.
I'm looking at Price at this point in time. He has over 300 armor in this game.
Yeah.
That's so much armor.
That's right. So most of the damage threats coming in from SAJ in itself is something that, you know, you have to itemize for, and Pride decided that he wants to go in full armor because QTV has been building damage. Archie is one of the major damage threats, and at this point of time, having the, what's that word? having Optimus on the team, you're not able to kind of burst Shyvana down at this point of time. And anyway, most of the time, Price has been the one being sent to kind of deal with QTV. Once again, they're going to go on to QTV, and that's going to just, wow, he's just going to try to deal it out against Westdoor. Westdoor nearly getting taken down there, and will he be able to get away? The ultimate is actually burned. He will flash in. The auto attack actually gets onto the turret in itself. Will QTV be able to get away from Price? Price does still have his burnout to come up. He will not be able to catch up onto QTV at this point of time. The Flame Breath does not able to hit, and at that point of time, SAJ decides to go for the Baron pickup. They will not be able to pick up the Baron just yet. Steal away from Nas in itself, and SAJ loses that Baron. Gets Garden Devil down extremely low. Junie gets taken down very low as well. Westdoor now gets hit by the Cocoon. He will go down. The shutdown goes to Optimus in itself, and now they turn and try to chase on to Greedy. Greedy wants some revenge, tries to take out Junie in response, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. Archie will pull off that buckshot and try to take that one out. So a little bit of a misplay coming from Saigon Jokers itself. I felt that Junie used the Solar Flare a little bit too early. They should have used it the moment that they knew that they had that damage spike to take down Baron, and the moment Nas was actually stunned up, they didn't have that damage spike to be able to take down Baron yet, so Nas just jumped in and picked that one up. So that's a little bit of a reconciliation for the side of for the side of AHQ, but nevertheless, SAJ still holds that 6,000 gold lead that we are talking about.
Right, and it's a little bummer for Saigon Jokers there because Safety wanted to turn and actually collapse onto AHQ Esports Club, but you know, Ness just found the opportunity to go for that Baron steal, and that definitely have to hurt and sting on the side of Saigon Jokers. But nevertheless, they did pick up that 3 kill as well, so the only 2 members on the side of HQ Esports Club with the Baron buff will be Guarded Devil and Pride as well. So let's see if they will be able to make anything out of it, as we have HQ Esports Club gathering in the mid lane, and QTV once again being that split push menace that HQ Esports Club might have to look at and deal with.
Yeah, once again, Surprise will be the one to blue pill back and try to respond to that one. Collateral damage used to stop the recall attempt here. So SAJ now wants to bring out the chase, because what AHQ needs at this point of time is to respond to this one, and QTV will probably pick up this inhibitor turret out of this one. Westdoor tries to flank in from behind, and QTV may decide to suicide. I don't know what he's trying to do here. He's just going to duel it one-on-one with Westdoor. The Pulverize will come up from Greedy. QTV actually, they don't chase onto QTV.
Right.
They do.
Well, they do.
It's like, QTV still going to stay on base? Nope.
Right, but in turn, Saigon Jokers, they will turn their attention down to the bottom lane, and with 4 members, and with Archie having that static shift as well, they will be able to take out the bottom lane turret. So 7-3 in terms of turret count over here. So even though they got their Baron stolen in the process, they're still hanging on and clinging on to that goal lead over here. 6,000 still in their favor. So to be able to maintain the goal lead up to this point of time is very impressive play from Saigon Jokers.
Yeah, that's right. So now SAJ needs to recall, because what we have here is that HQ will be kind of, they were thinking about going for the mid lane inhibitor turret, but decide to rotate Dragon. So a little bit of a downtime once again, and with Baron already being taken out, or stolen actually, I must say, by Nas in itself, I don't know what's the next objective that they're gonna go. Saigon Jokers have been making very good play calls. They've been sending QTV to alleviate some of the pressure, and if QTV alleviates some pressure, they will be able to take an objective. Either way, QTV has been doing very well this game.
Right, and you know, for all this time, he's not even going to go for any tanky builds whatsoever, because his job is very simple. He's kind of like the secret agent for Saigon Jokers over here. His job is just to move to one of the side lanes, apply pressure. Doesn't matter if you give up your life or not, but just buy time for the team, for them to take out a major objective. And it has worked out for them pretty well, but at the same time, HQ Esports Club, they have that 2 major objectives under the belt. They took away that Baron buff and that Baron goal away from Saigon Jokers, and then subsequently they took out the Dragon as well. And you know, they took it out about a minute ago, and it is a very valuable Dragon. You know, it gave each member 260 gold, and they were able to somewhat patch up the goal difference. So it's sitting at 5,000 at this point of time. But you know, they should be able to somewhat claw their way back into this game, but they still have to be very careful of this turret deficit that they are facing.
Yeah, that's right. And then we have Westdor actually pulling out the Zhonyas. And a great explosive cast comes in. Westdor being taken down by the explosive, not the explosive cast, but the collateral damage coming in. Green Tea there soaking up a lot of the damage. Juni goes in, gets the stun off, doesn't get the stun off actually. And then we have the Mikhail's Crucible coming in for the side. Whoa, Price joins the fight from over the wall using the Dragon's Descent. Pops the red to his Omen. No one on SAJ has died just yet. Safety now dealing it out of Daz. Has taken out extremely low. Judy himself, Optimus on the sidelines. Price now going back into the fight. Now Safety gets taken down low. Throws the Cocoon way up. Green Tea's now onto the sidelines. Wants to chase onto these 4 retreating members of the Saigon Jokers. Baron is going to be up in another 2 minutes. And it does seem that both HQ and SAJ will walk away from that one, and that was an amazing fight from both teams.
Wow, Optimus timing that explosive cast as we take a look with the replay, see what exactly went down. So Westdor here once again jumping into the fray, will have to pop that premature Zhonyas, I have to say, and then Optimus just timing the explosive cast also well, will knock Westdor back into the team, and Westdor will go down to the collateral damage there. Green Tea will actually suck up a lot of damage, and they try to chase onto him there, and Saigon Jokers was a bit lost there, Price jumping into the fray there, and eventually they had to back off from there, and this was the other turning point as well. Ness taking up, applying a lot of pressure, so eventually it was a 1-for-1 trade.
Yep, so basically 1-for-1, no objectives being taken by either team. This is going to be a long game, Chris.
Well, yeah, it has always been a long game.
It's going to be a long game.
These two teams, and I guess in a sense it's just between these two teams, the understanding and the respect as well, and I guess that little bit of cautiousness as well, because they don't want to be making bad decisions that will cost them the game. Like what we saw in game number 1, that was a disastrous result for Saigon Jokers over there. But this time around, they have stepped up their gameplay, and they are looking so dominating in this one. And once again, you know, it's coming to question what Ness had at this point of time. He does have that Last Whisper being completed already, but if he just went in for the assassin build, he might be able to clean up that team fight from what we saw in the mid lane portion for HQ Esports Club over there. So in that sense, not making full use of that assassination potential, but still doing pretty well for himself. So, I mean, no disrespect to that.
Yeah, I really like the choice of lane that QTV is kind of choosing to push out at this point of time, because what we have here is that he wants to push out the lane that's furthest away from Baron. If he's able to drag more than 2 members, well, Junie getting taken down extremely low. I think Westdor will be able to take him out, and there the stun comes in from himself. He will be able to use the Solar Flare as well as the Flash to get away from that one, and SAJ decides to start on the Baron a little bit, but will back off because they do collapse onto SAJ itself. With Junie so low and not having his Solar Flare at this point of time, it's going to be very scary. QTV onto the sidelines, might be taken out, gets the Undying Rage, will be forced to pop the Undying Rage at this point of time, and a great explosive cast now. Green Tea getting taken out extremely low. QTV will be the first one to get killed here. Westdor jumps into the fray and just gets melted with the lockdown combo. Price now in the back line trying to zone as many members as much as possible, and will be forced to back off. Safety now onto the sidelines. Archie jumping out from the bushes and being able to kick out a double kill. Now Safety will come in with the repel, and that's the end of that fight. So no Baron being taken out at that time, but HQ does lose 3 members. Nas as well as Garnet Devil, both one of the few main damage dealers on the team still alive. Will Nas be able to pull off another miracle? Smite coming into this game. He does not have vision of that one, and there we have just completely, wow, nearly the culling, nearly took out that one. Wow, Garnet Devil actually not moving that backstep and doesn't get hit by the explosive cast.
Mind games, man.
Mind games. The high next level mind games.
Right, so eventually it was a 2-for-4 exchange as we look at the replay of what exactly happened in the past minute. So at first it started out with QTV getting caught out a little bit, and the Undying Rage, I have to say, bought him so much time. And look at the burst damage coming in from Optimus. Nets has to leap away from all that, and Green Tea trying to buy some time for his teammate using the Pulverize. And Price now joins the fray, will pick up the kill onto QTV there, and now Westdor once again I feel like he's almost being overly aggressive here, so he will go down to Optimus in the process. Pride's now zoning away a couple of members of Saigon Jokers in the meantime, but he will take a lot of damage in return, and now Safety will be the one to lock him down into place. And there we go with the double kill coming in from Archie, and that will end the team fight there. And really, you know, in a sense, Wesdor, he is not finding the right engages you know, at this point of time. He did pretty well in the early game, but all this little, you know, rift walks that he has been using, just manages to find himself in a position where he can't really capitalize, and in turn he will get caught out maybe with a cocoon or even with one of those explosive cars to just lock him into place, and that's not a position where you really want to be in.
Yeah, I really like the play calling coming from SAJ in that fight. They knew that QTV got caught out of position, and they just went, okay, pop your Undying Rage, we'll win this one. And Optimus pulled off a clutch, a very, very good explosive cars coming into that fight, and they just kind of, you know, zoned out and try to juggle a lot of the damage very well. And yes, you're right, Wesdor hasn't been making some of the best play calls coming into game number 2. He is on Cassidin, he did very well in the early stages of the game, but he's choosing very bad times to go into a team fight. Who rift walks into 4 members of the team when the rest of the team isn't anywhere near the vicinity to kind of back you up?
I have to answer Wesdor.
Okay. I hope he doesn't do that again.
Well, yeah, they definitely need to be careful of trying. Now, Saigon Jokers, with the Baron buff up their sleeve, they have the resources to siege up this top lane. There we go now, Judy jumping into the fray.
That's right, so I don't think any fight, nope, I don't need to think, definitely no fight gonna happen at this point of time. SAJ will start to rotate now. They have a big minion wave to clear out in this mid lane. Yes, like you said, they have the Baron buff. They have a 9,000 goal lead at this point of time, and I still think it's anyone's game to win because one good initiation from Green Tea into a hit but pulverize, and Pride's going in with the Dragon's Descent is going to be extremely scary.
Yeah, but once again, is it going to be too little too late? Because, you know, like I mentioned, Ness does not necessarily have the damage potential to assassinate anyone at this point of time. And with Safety actually finishing up all these tanky items on his own, and it's going to be one extremely tough spider to try to smack out.
Yeah, I don't know who can smack it out because I think the one person that's just going to smack the life out of AHQ in the team fight is going to be Optimus. The explosive casts have been extremely on point this game. And what we have here is that SAJ, or at least Optimus, really making the play calls. It just makes me wonder who's the team captain. It does seem like Optimus has been the one to, you know, just say go, blows the explosive cast or even the shockwave in game number 1, and immediately they turn around the team fight.
Right, and you also have QTV being that unfortunate sacrifice for the team to just buy time.
And speak of the devil, QTV once again being this quote-unquote distraction, I feel, game number 2.
He is the distractor, and not only the distractor as well, because they can't just leave QTV alone. In the sense, if you just go for SAJ there, then QTV will be the one to push down your turret, and he does have the necessary resources to do so as well. And now we do see this stream of super minions pushing up the top wave as well.
Yeah, and speaking of super minions, I don't know whether they're going to team fight anytime soon, but the changes in the 3.15 patch has made the super minion buff to the lane minions stronger, giving them additional 70% attack damage as well as 70 bonus armor and magic resist. So having that additional quote-unquote aura on the super minions to the lane minions in itself is going to be extremely helpful, and they will definitely need to deal with this onslaught of big waves coming in.
Right, and now with all these resources on their end, Saigon Jokers just slowly and steadily just taking bits and pieces of damage away from the turret. There we go with the engage.
Yeah, and there we have a great AoE cluster by AHQ. This is what they were looking for. Archie gets exhausted. I don't know if they will be able to do anything in that fight at that point of time. Naz gets taken out extremely low. The flash comes out right into the face of Naz in itself. He does manage to pick up QTV now, trying to go in all the way. He does have his Undying Rage at this point of time. He wants to try to deal it out. He's choosing whether he wants to run away or continue to fight this one, but it does seem that AHQ gets the better of this one, gets an ace. The very first ace of the game, 45 minutes into this match itself. The Baron will respawn in 90 seconds, so the death timers are sufficient enough for AHQ to be kind of for both SAJ and HQ to contest that Baron. We do have HQ kind of go up to this mid lane and try to take this one out. And while they do that, let's take a look at the last fight before replay.
Right, so it all started out with, you know, Optimus not finding the position that he wants to, Pride's jumping into the fray with a very good Dragon's Descent, and the Carling taking some damage onto Junie over there, and once again Optimus getting chunked down almost immediately, but everyone just jumping into the fray here. Westall still very healthy in this one, so in that sense that was the right call to go in, and that's with the assassination onto RG over there, and Gunner Devil will pick up the kill onto safety, and you know that was just a delayed ace attempt there, and QTV right here with 3 members that was to escape in that one. And fortunately for Saigon Jokers, at least they had that top lane super minions pushing into the base and knocking on the doors of HQ Esports Club. If not, I would have to say there was that risk of game 1 just repeating itself.
That's right. So what we have here from SAJ at this point of time is that they lose the mid lane inhibitor. That's not going to be too bad because losing a side lane inhibitor is a little bit more potent than a mid lane one, and it does seem that SAJ going to be very confident of either lying in wait for the Baron in itself or just dealing as much damage as possible. I mean, QTV has a Blade of Ring King Static Shift, Last Whisper as well as the Infinity Age on top of the Mercurial Scimitar. He's a 6-item Tryndamere at this point of time. That's going to easily take down Baron. And then we have the initiate onto Garner Devil. Garner Devil gets stunned up. He will use that Relentless Pursuit as well as the culling to try to do as much poke damage as possible. Westall is actually the one, he's trying to pull off a little bit of an X-Peke here. I mean, there's the Nexus turrets are still up at this point of time, but he's been sent on that little split push mission to try to deal and try to kind of refocus SAJ's priorities a little bit.
I would say if he does pull it off, it will be so apt as well because he's on Gasset in that aspect.
Yeah, that's right. The initiation comes in front to Pride. He pops the Randomist Omen and catches 3 people off guard. We do have Optimus on the sidelines. A great set in play. Actually managed to lock up Pride, but the Solar Flare only managed to get the slow onto both Guard Devil and Green Tea. The Cocoon will be able to land onto Green Tea as well, but it does seem that both SAJ and HQ will back off from this one. SAJ taken down extremely low. HQ maybe thinking about the Baron now, but they do see SAJ, or they don't see SAJ, they at least sense SAJ coming in from the sides, and you know, they're not going to do much at this point of time. Don't want to risk a 50-50 Baron chance.
Right, very close calls for both teams at this point of time, and once again, it does look like at this point of time, HQ, they are having the advantages on their own end because they managed to take out the mid lane inhibitor. That will put on some good amount of pressure onto Saigon Joker. So just 15 minutes into this game, Saigon Joker is still sitting on a good 7,000 advantage, but it's at a point where it's not going to be meaning too much because most of the squad of HQ Esports Club have finished up their major items. So it's going to be down to the decision calling, the play calling that's going to affect the result of this game.
Yeah, the 7,000 gold at this point of time does give Optimus one Guardian Angel up from Westall, but I think this recall will allow Westall to pick up his Guardian Angel of his own. And it does seem that we will be reaching the point of the game where we start stacking as many Guardian Angels as possible.
The many lives of the League of Legends player.
Yeah.
And Guardian Angel respawn as well.
It's going to be so scary. So what we have here is SAJ just pushing that minion wave, the lane in which they have their inhibitor down. So it's just going to be a push-pull factor coming in. They once again send QTV onto that little split push route. And it does seem that they're just going to dance around in the top as well as the mid lane until one team decides to be a little bit confident to go for the Baron attempt in itself. So it's just going to be a little waiting game, and you know, Wild West showdown, they're just going to stare each other down until someone decides to pull the trigger.
So this is the staring down phase, isn't it? The waiting game to see who is the first one to make the moves to pull out the gun and to pull out the trigger in that sense.
Yeah, the inhibitor is now up on the side of Saigon Joker, so that's going to alleviate some of the pressure in itself, and this is the point of time in which SAJ, so far according to how the game has been flowing, will make the play, because now the pressure has kind of gone down because the inhibitor is already back up. So what we have here is SAJ may want to decide to do something. But problem is that Pride is a complete counter to what QTV is at this point of time. Look at that. QTV takes more damage from his own auto attack than what Pride is actually doing, or than what he's actually doing to Pride. So
wow, and
QTV taken down extremely low, yeah, and the Ignite will not be able to take him down. He does have Westdoor on the sideline trying to assassinate him right off the bat, but it does seem that, you know, SAJ has no answer to what Pride is able to do against QTV at this point in time.
Right, it's almost like the tide is turning on them. Even though they are the ones with the goal advantage, HQ Esports Club, they are putting them into positions where they can't really make the best decisions out of it. They have to lose something. They, you know, if you look at the movement of Saigon Jokers for the past minute, they are just a little lost. They don't really know what to do. And in turn, we did see Nas pick up the Dragon in the process as well. So that will close up the goal gap just a little bit. But in a sense, like we mentioned, at this point of time, this late into the game, all this little goal lead is not going to be affecting both teams too much, because most of the major items are already being already completed in that sense. And I think GT has a very interesting item. He has finished up the Frozen Heart, so that's in respect to QTV in that sense, so he won't be able to chunk him down as quickly as he would want to.
Yeah, no, that Frozen Heart does reduce the attack speed of nearby enemies, and that's going to help with both QTV as well as Archie coming into the team fight phase especially.
Right, so we are back into the phase of the game where they're just moving around the Baron Pit as well, so they're not going to be risking too much in the process here, but it's going to be the first team to find the advantage. And once again, is it going to be up to SAJ, because in the last game, they were the ones who, you know, found themselves in a very peculiar position, and that allowed HQ Esports Club to pick up the kill, pick up the kill actually over Optimus, and then eventually pick up the game.
One misstep will cost the game from either team.
So much tension.
You know what we should do? We should just keep quiet until the until the team fight breaks out, and let's see how many minutes of silence we'll get out from both teams.
I can tell you it's gonna be very, very long.
How long? Let's guess when the next team fight will come. No, let's not play that game.
Let's not
play that game. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Oh my god, that would be, you know, that would be terrible, because it will take a long time, because they, like we mentioned, they don't want to risk it. And just for information for our viewers out there, the 4th position for the Garena Premier League Winter season will bring home 15,000 cash prize. So not too bad, but there is a $10,000 difference.
So the 3rd place is going to bring back 25,000 US dollars, huh?
Yeah, so a lot of money.
I don't know. I think it's more about the pride in this point of time.
Right, no need the pride, the money as well. I mean, look at it, it's $10,000 difference, man.
I remember we've had this conversation before, Chris. I'm not going to bring it up again.
Dude, the money, man. The money in the bank.
Okay, the money in the bank indeed. So here we have HQ for the first time actually going in on the aggression here. Westdoor pops his Zonias, maybe a little bit too early, but this time Optimus doesn't get that clutch. Whoa, we see that a little bit of a movement coming in from the Zonias as well. Optimus taken out extremely low. The Guardians Angels will be popped. QTV is on the sidelines now. Archie being taken down very low. Optimus will go down first. Archie taken out extremely low. The Guardians Angel will pop. QTV will go down. It does seem that AHQ will win this team fight, and they should be able to take the game out of this one. Safety will be the next one to fall. I don't know how effective it's going to be. He tries to actually get onto Westdoor. One auto attack. Westdoor still has his Guardian Angel up, and only Junie is alive on the side of Saigon Joker. So 2 minutes of silence if you actually kept silent there from the 53-minute mark when I asked you that question. It does seem that AHQ will take game number 2. SAJ.
What does it feel like? I've seen that happen before.
I don't know. Maybe we should look at game 1 again, Chris.
And oh my gosh, that's the ace for HQ Esports Club. They turn the game around once more. They will come up victorious in game number 2 as they once more.
Wow.
It was at that same exact choke point.
Wow.
Where Optimus got picked off.
I don't know. I mean, I saw Westdoor blow his Zonias way too quickly. And nearly we saw the solar flare come in, we saw the explosive cast come in, but it was just at that split second in which the stasis hasn't really worn off just yet.
Okay.
And then there we have it. The game was over because at that point of time, Optimus as well as Archie, surprisingly, I don't know why he decided to kind of dash over the wall, that one quick draw over the wall, and both the carries, both the main damage dealers were in one spot. So all AHQ had to do was, okay, you're in one spot, I'm going to turn, and then you're dead. That's basically what happened there.
You know, throughout the game, we saw Westor, he often put himself in a very peculiar position, and that got him killed a couple of times. And I guess when it came to the time where it mattered most, Optimus was the one that eventually was the one that was caught way out of position. And HQ Esports Club, they come back once again with a miraculous turnaround, let's call it that way. It was a very dominating game for SAJ. You have to give credits to them for that.
Yes, but I don't know whether you call it a miraculous turnaround because I think AHQ had the better of that team fight.
Okay,
I mean,
fine, fair enough.
They positioned so well, and I'm really questioning why is Optimus and Archie so far ahead of the rest of the team?
At that same exact choke point as well. So, I mean, in a sense, it might be something that they want to look into, as we will be heading on into game number 3 really shortly after this one. So we will be going for a break.